Hey, what's up guys? My name is Boda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video, we're going to be talking about our 2025 mining strategy. Going to talk about what we're looking at, what we're doing, how we're playing this. Are we looking at buying any additional hardware or has the time kind of passed? Talk about all these things, what I'm specifically looking at, and just have a nice little discussion about it, right? So if that sounds good guys, stay tuned. Let's get right to this thing. So this, for the most part, not for the most part, this is going to be just my personal viewpoint, my personal strategy of how I'm going to play into this coming into 2025, right? Currently, we are November 2024. Everything, not everything, but Bitcoin has pumped, went up to 93K earlier, so things are looking extremely bullish, but also going in line with previous cycles. Okay, so just giving a lot more confidence in the fact that things are going to play out extremely in our favor. So, as far as the strategy goes, so me on the personal front, if you guys know, my personal deadline was September, October to decide if I was going to add any additional Asics. In reality, at that point, my viewpoint, my strategy is almost kind of late. So, at that point, it would have to fit the criteria, right? Which for me is latest and greatest and something for me to get in this late in the game, something that I can see being profitable well beyond not just this cycle, so beyond this bull market essentially. So something that I feel is likely to be profitable or at least efficient enough that I'll be able to run in case shit hits the fan after next November. Because again, this is a big thing, is that especially with Asics, reality any miner, but even more so with the Asics, because again they're so damn expensive, you want to be able to maximize. So again, the main advantage, the main value proposition for me at least with the Asics is being able to stack a lot of coin for hopefully an extended period of time. But again, we're at the point now where to maximize profits, it's these next 12 months, which is why our biggest thing was to stack during this time where everybody was saying mining is dead, GPU mining is dead, ASIC mining is dead, you're wasting your time mining at $1 a day profit, yada, yada, yada. Right? Our goal from the get-go is yield over everything. Fortunately, a lot of you ROI guys have been learning the lesson with like what happened with the scrypt Asics, right? It just, they were pretty appealing, especially the L9 and such, but massively more appealing and people doing their little ROI calculations now once it's pumped. Again, the key to all of this has been pretty simple. Get in before the pumps, right? Stack during the time when nobody wants it, when everything is dead. Those are the times to be jumping in. Okay, it's the speculative front, especially with ASIC mining. ASIC mining is a very dirty game, and it's a very difficult game that it's difficult to win. Why? Because it's all like a mindfuck essentially, right? People get so caught up in the fact of like, oh, the ROI, looking at everything. The thing is, by the time the ROI looks good, it's too late, right? The time to be mining, the time to be stacking were these past 2 years in anticipation of what may potentially happen, hopefully this coming year, and in some cases has already happened. Okay, so that's the name of the game. Those are the people who succeed. Unfortunately, the majority, though, tend to wait until it's too late. It's the same people buying Bitcoin at 90K or buying Bitcoin 12 months from now when it's at like 150, 180, 200, whatever ends up hitting. Okay, that ends up being the majority, and that becomes the disgruntled majority that we hear about throughout this bear market. Okay, so again, strategy plays a big thing. Your overall viewpoint is going to play a big point. Okay, so to each their own on that front. I'm not here to convince you either way. I'm just sharing my strategy and how it's worked, kind of proving the point of what all these other guys well before me have proven also. Okay, it's kind of mind blowing that it is actually panning out, and I'm on the small front. I'm not a guy that has like a crazy amount of Asics. All of my Asics are ran here at home. All five, what I got, 5 or 6 Asics, a 10 card GPU rig, and some of these little at home things. And yet, even on that scale, this is going to be a ridiculous bull market, and it's already been ridiculous already, right? The projections that we hit well exceeded what I was looking at. Okay, and it's even on that front again, and then starting from being so small. Okay, all of this started, it's almost 4 years ago now, with a broke ass 1660 Super back in the GPU days. And just growing and stacking and growing from within the ecosystem leading up to this point, which in reality, I don't have a ton of hardware, but it's just having that conviction of what can potentially happen. Now, has it fully happened yet? No, but even if it doesn't, bro, a lot of the gains we've had, I'm more than happy, even if I don't make anything else beyond this point, right? So, kind of to each your own, a lot of that stuff. But again, the key hitting points here, if you're going to be purchasing anything, it needs to be something that's going to last you beyond this bull market, right? So for me personally, again, my cutoff was that time. I was looking at certain other ones. The reason I decided not to purchase any of those, which I'm regretting like a not just getting an L9, but in reality, it still makes sense, is that I'm pretty much maxed out on capacity. So for me to add another one, I'd have to unplug some of the existing Asics, which are still meeting my criteria, right? Which for me personally, it's break even or better, and I'm good with it, right? So it wasn't a very appealing thing for me to have to unplug those in order to plug this potential, L9 or something like that, and have more hardware sitting on the sidelines. That's the last thing I want. Okay, so that was kind of my own personal deciding factor. Realistically, it probably would have been a better play to jump on that L9, but again, I had no idea it would pump this fast, this early, right? The end game reality, it's half of what we're projecting, somewhere between 60 80 cents. Obviously, that almost feels bearish at this point, considering it already hit like 40 cents. But that's the name of the game with Asics, is that, especially, that's what we've been alluding all this time, that to make your picks before all this stuff happens. Okay, and that's a big reason I wanted to make my final decisions by September, October, just in case the 4-year cycle does play out, which has been playing to a T here, right? To avoid all this bullshit like what's going on with scrypt Asics, where the prices doubled just like that, and now they're like in insane price levels, right? On top of all the bullshit that's going to happen, hopefully there's none. Again, it's speculation that things can get delayed and bullshit happens. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully everything fulfills, everything goes on point, and we move on. But that was a big reason I wanted to make my decisions before that. Okay, but again, a big part of the reason, I'm already maxed out, and I'm good to go with where I'm at. Okay, so that doesn't mean that I'm not looking at any of these. That doesn't mean I wouldn't consider any of these. It's just my game plan from the beginning was to try to now sell some of those existing ASICs and roll it into more hardware. Whether it's another ASIC, whether it's GPUs, whether it's something else, or whether it's just taking profits or maybe using those profits to buy Bitcoin or other coins, whatever. But to try to just continue to roll those cycles. Because my initial 3 ASICs that I purchased at the beginning were all purchased with revenue made from selling the GPUs that had paid themselves off multiple times over back before the ETH merge. So that was, again, this was a long-term play. This is something that wasn't thought up last minute. It was a long-term game plan that has panned out, right? Not fully, not all of them were W's. Some of them are probably going to be duds. Some of them already panned out, though. The ones that did pan out are already made up for any of the duds at this point, though. But you have to kind of be in it to win it. And at the end of the day, it's very risky with Asics. It's very hard with Asics. That's why we do so much research. We do so many calculations. We look at best case scenarios, worst case scenarios, and that's how we decide, right? Not based on FOMO, not based on, oh man, the L9's making 60, 70 bucks a day. Let me drop that 20K for that November batch. No, right? The interest was there. At 8K, it made sense. These prices, absolutely not. For me, at least. I mean, everybody's going to do their own. There's potential, even buying at those crazy price points, you may still make out, right? Who knows? But for me personally, hell to the no, right? That is pretty much past. Again, the only way I'd get into any of the more expensive ASICs is if the K7, the K3, they go up in value a significant amount, and be able to sell them and roll them into that other piece of hardware. Okay, but for me, for the most part, still going to be looking, though, in case there is opportunities. Something does happen. We do have a big price correction, but we're at the point now where that's looking less and less likely. Okay, so Scrypt kind of kicked it off and gave everybody that nice little reminder that if it looks good, risk reward looks good, it's meeting your own personal criteria, whatever that may be, it may be time. Right? In reality, it was time 2 years ago, but again, to each their own, even on that front. Now, what's appealing going forward, right? So scrypt Asics, the L9, scrypt Asics, if the prices remain at these levels, for me, miss the boat, Okay, and I'm good with it, right? To me, there's going to be other opportunities. Maybe, maybe not. But at this point, the value prop, like paying that ridiculous amount, doesn't make sense, to me at least, right? As we go down the list, even just eyeballing it, the AL1 Pro still has potential, ideally, because of how much Lithium's been struggling. What would make it appealing is if we get another aggressive price cut. Will it happen? Won't it happen? Obviously, if Lithium pumps, hell no. Maybe if it continues to struggle, maybe that can happen. So this is one to watch for me at least. Because again, even though right now it doesn't look too great considering the price point, which again, that's why there's hope that there may be a price reduction here. It's the potential here, right? So even though right now, currently, 28 bucks a day, it's like, oh, that's not too hot, but it changes drastically if Lithium does what we think it'll do in the bull market. $100 million market cap, I think $1 billion is feasible, a 10x is potentially there. So this thing looks radically different with this thing being at 280 bucks. Okay, but then again, more factors there, though. The biggest risk factor for me, though, is that even if that were to happen, what else do you think is going to happen? The same shit with scrypt. The price is going to go through the roof. The difference here, though, is that the hash rate and the network is very immature. It's not like scrypt, where, yes, a shitload of those scrypt ASICs are going to be sold, but the network can absorb a lot of it. Not the case here. If this thing moons and there is a lot of attention to it at these price points, it doesn't take a lot for the hash rate to freaking also moon. It's already mooned a good amount. It has a ton of room to go up, though. So that's kind of the thing. So although, yes, it could be appealing, for me, it'd have to be a very aggressive price reduction. And in reality, what would be more appealing is a smaller version of this, so like the AL2 Lite, if it's priced on the same scale. At these price points, it's going to be very hard, right? So ideally, you'd be looking for something that could potentially break even at this point sometime during this year and be able to stack beyond this point, which unfortunately isn't going to be a lot of these, right? A lot of these, regardless, aren't too appealing because a lot of them are due for upgrades, right? Even to mention with like the K7, K3, those are damn near going on 2 years old. Very likely we're going to see upgrades sometime this spring. Maybe those can be worth it. Especially if those prices are struggling still, like if Cadena is still struggling, CKB, it's already gone on a tear, but let's say it kind of struggles at this point, maybe it could be appealing, but not a whole lot for me. The price would have to be extremely aggressive. What would be appealing, though, is more efficient, low-powered, cheaper ASICs, because it becomes more likely that you'd be able to pay it off, potentially profit sometime throughout this bear market, and then be able to mine on it beyond it. Okay, especially if it's efficient enough. So a big standout for me would be the ETH hash Asics. These are ones that are extremely appealing just because of the versatility. Number one, the efficiency, right? The most efficient happen to be these Jazz miners, which do come in smaller home variants. Okay, but the biggest thing is the flexibility in all the coins that it can mine on that algorithm, okay, which just gives you a different level of versatility that a lot of the other ones do not provide, especially if they're decent coins. Arguably, you have it with Caspa, with Cedra, but those in reality are garbage. The difference here is that you do have at least a couple and more that we know are very likely to continue to come. Okay, you can mine ETC, which is more tried and true, likely to do somewhat okay, not necessarily super bullish on it, but if it does what it's done in previous markets, it'll create some kind of profit. Realistically, the appeal for me would be Octa. So mine whatever is profitable, swap into Octa, and you can even degen, because as we know, what's gonna likely happen in this bull market, gonna have these shit coins that come up out of nowhere and appreciate, right? A good example just happens, the Ether, this one just dropped not too long ago. Yield is still extremely good. Tiny market cap. Who knows if it's any good, but even just based on the possibility of it, I mean, again, it's the most profitable revenue, $5 a day. Swap it into Octa. Swap it into whatever you like. Okay, another good example is ETH PLW, which has been on a tear lately. Has been doing pretty decently. Again, this is an ASIC that's under 2,000 bucks. Very possible you'll break even or make your money back sometime throughout this. And it's efficient enough, again, 630 watts, where you can mine on it beyond it. Even though it's it's not going to be the most efficient, it's still pretty decently sized, right? Especially for that price point. The reason I'm saying it's not going to be the most efficient is we already know which one is going to be, and it's going to be the X44Q. massively appealing. The price is what we don't know, right? We know it's going to come out Q1. So in a sense, it's like, oh, well, why would I get this one if we know that one's going to come? Price. Very likely this thing is going to be 3 to 4 times the price of this thing. If ETC or any of these coins here pump, it can be potentially even higher, right? Maybe, hopefully they surprise us. Maybe it does come in at a decent price. Who knows, but we know it's going to be priced based off of the profitability, right? So we'll see what happens by then, but it's something that I would consider this guy. If this guy is at a reasonable price, then also jump in on this one, right? The advantage with having these similar algos that are like very efficient, or not similar, the exact same algos that are very efficient, you're able to kind of continue to scale and increase that efficiency if you're going to continue to mine that algo. Okay, so in this case, even if you were to get a 16Q and like later down the line, like, oh, okay, this guy is actually priced pretty decently, I'm interested, you'd be able to get that one, increase your overall efficiency, and continue to mine for a longer period of time. Okay, so even if it does get to the point where, let's say after this bull market, like 16Q starts getting borderline, like a little uneven, or not even break even, this guy will carry you through. So between the two of them, be able to continue going. Similar strategy to what I did with number one back in the GPU days, right? Would buy those more efficient GPUs to kind of carry the less efficient, like cheaper ones, like the 1660s or like the 3080s, 3090s, etc. Very similar to what I did with like the CAS Basics. The biggest appeal for the KS5 Pro is that it was going to extend the life of the KS3M, the less efficient unit, right? By combining the hash rate and the power, now the KS3M by itself wasn't break even, so that wouldn't meet the criteria. But in conjunction with the others, it now brings the overall efficiency well enough where everything is profitable, we're continuing to stack. Okay, and kind of the same process here. But again, the appeal here would be that it's low wattage enough where this is going to be easy even after the bull market to pay out of pocket. 780 watts, the 630 for here, way easier to stomach than the damn 3,500, 4,000 watters of the big boy Asics. Especially during an extended period of time where you don't know what profitability is going to be like, or maybe a bigger, better miner comes out sometime in the bear market. A lot of variables, right? It's a lot easy, even if it's barely break even, to just pay out of pocket for one of these guys, right? So to each their own, but that's where my viewpoint would be, at least on this front. So it would be these. We'll see what other ice rivers come out, such as, because we have seen that new form factor with like the KS2 Lite, AL2 Lite. Of course, you're probably going to see them for Radiant, whatever other algos come out on that front. Those would also be appealing for similar reasons. Okay, so we'll see what kind of plays out. We'll see what kind of price points. We'll see what happens with this price action, though. It seems so aggressive so early, especially with some of the alts. Bitcoin, it was anticipated, but it's just crazy, like that doge pump, man. It's so hard, so heavy. But again, it was definitely a good reminder that we don't have that kind of time, right? And that's why, again, I had made my cutoffs when I did to kind of avoid all that. Get in before those pumps. Now, for the other segment, big into Deepin items, okay, for similar reasons and kind of even a little bit better. So this is going to be another segment where there's going to be a lot of trash. Okay, this is going to be one that's hot. A lot of interest here, not only on the consumer retail level, but on the institutional level. And we've seen this, especially these past 6 months, with these VCs getting into some of these projects here. And that's what kind of like flipped me into way more bullish. Okay, especially into certain ones, especially the ones where I'm actually interested in that coin itself. Not just like, oh, you know, value proposition wise, this one earns pretty well, profitability looks good. What's exciting here is that I'm also bullish on the coin. Like, even if I didn't buy hardware to mine this would also be part of the portfolio. GeoNet, where I got really bullish, is when the Van Eck released their report on it. That's what, like, whoop, sealed the deal, right? And then afterwards they did get investments. So looking pretty good here. Okay, so because of that, I did end up ordering one. Hasn't came in yet. Realistically, I should ordered one 2 years ago when I think Action CEO was the first one I heard talking about it years ago, right? Those are the times to get in. But again, the main appeal here is the fact that it's still a very tiny market cap. So even aside from the miner is just to get a few more coins. realistically going to be DCing into this one as well. Okay, it's going to be the leader in this niche. Rank number 763, only $46 million market cap. $500 million market cap is very, very easily attainable, especially potentially going beyond that, right? So a lot of potential upside here. Worst case scenario, I do easily believe the unit will pay itself. And the biggest appeal with all these Deepin things, very low wattage, so no overhead. I feel very confident in all the ones that I'm in, that they're going to pay themselves off between now and the next 12 months, and then I'll be able to continue to stack well after this bull market, just like I have with some of the other Deepin things. Okay, so that's kind of where some of the focus will be at. So like GeoNet is one. Demo is another one that I have the little macrons. I'm upgrading to those R1s. I do have a link in the description for you guys who are interested. They do come out next month. But same thing here, that I'm not only bullish on the device itself and its ROI and all that good stuff, I'm bullish on the coin also. This is another one that is going to be in the portfolio. Okay, we have like this segment, we have like Sword Chain, and I'm sure there'll be others, but to me the leader in this niche is going to be Demo. So because of that, that's another one that's in the portfolio because there's so much upside here. Again, same thing, rank number 874, $37 million market cap. Easily see a potential 10. None of this is financial advice. It's just, again, this is my personal viewpoint. Okay, so that's what makes mining more appealing, or buying hardware, is for coins that I think will actually do well, that I have conviction in. Okay, that's a big part of the reasons that I chose the Asics that I did indeed choose. It's because of that. And that's what makes it more exciting for me. And that's because at the end of the day, it still is a hobby for me, right? I still have to be into those coins, into those projects, for me to really be interested. If I'm not interested in that coin, realistically, I kind of don't want it either. Okay, and that was kind of the thing with the L9 for me also. Not super big into Doge, right? It's one of those coins that it pumped like hell though, and it's probably going to do extremely well because of Elon. But it's not one that prior to all that I was necessarily too excited about. Okay, but it looks like it is going to do extremely well. Okay, so again, congrats to you guys who did get on those. Continuing on this front, Natix is another one. Again, this is one you don't need a device. You use your own damn phone and you're able to stack coins, right? But this one in reality, probably not going to be doing anymore. I'll be DCing more. Same thing here. A lot of potential here. Only $11 million market cap. So this is one I wouldn't mind throwing a little bit early. Not necessarily super high conviction because, again, the leader in this space is actually going to be Hivemapper, going to be that honey token. Okay, they've already made a lot of big deals with multi-billion-dollar companies that they're selling that data. Extremely bullish there, so the DCA will be more so into that one. Although I do have a little bag here, and I will continue to add to that little bag. Okay, and the reason I'm not going to be doing this one anymore is because of Rover. Rover is a similar thing. This one is a device though, but you are going to be using your phone to map. Okay, so that's actually what's going to take over. Same thing, this thing's $150. This is in testnet though. It's not going to go live until sometime like Q2, I believe. Or potentially later if there's delays. But again, another one that most likely that I feel confident will pay itself off. It's going to, even if it doesn't, it's $150. Now I'm going to continue to stack tokens. Right, so that's kind of the main theme here, is that looking for efficient things, looking for things that require little to no power, that at some point these next 12 months can pay themselves off, and I'll be able to stack beyond this bull market. Okay, so any of these Deepin things, between all of these, the Hivemapper, it was all done extremely well, and they're going to continue to stack. Okay, and then on the Asic front, looking for efficiency, looking for any of these guys, unless we do have a big deal here. Right, it is potential that we do get revisions or upgrades of some of the previous models, because again, a lot of them are due for upgrades. Whether or not we get those upgrades, we don't know. Maybe they just focus on what is selling well, and they stick with those. But again, the K7 is almost 2 years old. The K3 is almost the same time frame. The HS3, Z15 Pro, the Dash, the D9 ASIC. A lot of the Sia coin Asics, like we go down the line, a lot of them are 2+ year old already. Okay, again, which is why the L9 was so appealing, because it is the latest and greatest, just came out. That's the appeal here, right? I'm not interested in buying an Asic that's already 2 years old, that likely is going to have a much better version coming out. Potentially, we don't know, but again, with Asics, I try to be forward thinking, and that's a big consideration for me, because again, longevity is key. The longer you're able to mine on that thing profitably, the way better you are. Ask any of the L7 guys who got that thing like 3 years ago. Okay, or even better, the ones who bought them at like 2, 3K a year and a half, 2 years ago. Okay, the longer you're able to mine profitably, the higher your odds are of succeeding, right? Because some of them, currently, those coin prices probably aren't too hot, but the longer you're able to accrue, you don't necessarily need to get crazy price appreciation to make out extremely well. And what I'm kind of talking about is like the KE3, for example. Price action, we did have a little pump that did cause the hash rate to increase earlier in the year where it hit like $1.80 or something. But because it hasn't done too well, it's not extremely popular, it is still continuing to stack. I'm at the point where now, even if it only reaches $2.50, we'll be able to make over 25K on that thing, right? Which is more than enough. Because again, we've been able to stack for so long, so many coins. Okay, and that's the advantage of being able to stack for such an extended period of time. Which is why, again, for me at least, the time of the big boy Asics is kind of behind us, right? So potentially still may get another one, but again, it would have to take for me to sell some of the existing Asics, which won't be until those pump significantly, which may not be anytime soon. Might not be till Q1, Q2, might not be till Q3. Might be something like Kadena where it literally didn't have its mega pump until the month of the peak. That's when it went up freaking through the roof in like a matter of days. Who knows if it happens, right? But at the end of the day, that's what we're kind of planning for. That's what we're preparing. We have price targets. If it reaches this amount, or if another upgraded piece of hardware comes out, that also changes things. So again, the cycle may end here. I may not be able to sell those ASICs into other hardware. I may just have to mine with it until the wheels fall off or until the damn thing breaks and it's not worth fixing anymore, right? It's going to be kind of there, but at the end of the day, it's keeping existing hardware and just continuing to mine, right? Keeping the strategy easy, not falling for the FOMO. Again, if you got in at key price points, awesome. But I would not be chasing anything extreme. Again, especially if it's day to day. Again, the L9 being the best example. If it looked good to you 3, 4 weeks ago, or even earlier, months ago, like we've been saying, that was the time to pull the trigger. Not after the price has doubled, tripled. That's not the time. Okay, especially at that extreme of a price point. It's one thing if it went up from 2,000 to 6,000 and you think there's potential there, I get it, but going from like 8K to freaking 17K, it's tough, bros, and especially if it goes higher. Like, this is the insane thing, but we're gonna have to see how crazy this market gets. It's crazy to think that Doge already did what it did. Like, that's just something we knew was gonna come eventually, right? Just definitely, at least for me, not this fast, right? So just keep in mind, though, guys, it happens like that. Okay, so let me know in the comments, guys. What do you guys think? What are you guys doing? Are you guys thinking that far ahead? Are you just now buying? What are you doing? Where's your mindset? Or were you one of the smart ones and just stacked these past 2 years and you're just sitting back, enjoying these gains, taking screenshots, and having a good old time? Right? Let me know in the comments, guys. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I am out.